It was a typical Saturday afternoon, and the sun was shining brightly through the windows of the living room. I was sitting on the couch sipping my coffee when I heard the door fly open and the familiar sound of little feet running across the floor. My nephew Sam burst into the room, his face flushed with excitement and his eyes wide with something between wonder and anticipation. Aunt, he exclaimed, nearly tripping over his own feet as he rushed towards me. His usual energetic self was clearly even more amplified. Today, he looked like he had just made a big discovery. I need your help. I put my coffee down and smiled at him, sensing that his latest idea was going to be an interesting one. What is it, Sam? I asked, trying to keep the smile from turning into a full-on grin. What do you need help with? He stopped in front of me, his face suddenly serious, almost as if he had to gather all his thoughts before presenting his big plan. I want a pet dragon, he said, his words coming out in a rush. A real dragon, one that breathes fire and flies. At first, I wasn't sure if I had heard him right. Dragons, really? The idea seemed too far-fetched even for Sam, who had a vivid imagination. My first instinct was to laugh, thinking he was just in one of those moods where anything magical seemed possible. But as I looked at him, I saw something more in his eyes, an earnestness, a belief that maybe this time he could get something truly extraordinary. I couldn't help it. I chuckled. A dragon? How you want me to help you find a dragon like one that breathes fire and flies around your room? His head bobbed up and down. Enthusiastically, yes, exactly, please, and you're the only one who can help me. I've been asking Mom and Dad, but they don't understand. I raised an eyebrow, trying to suppress another laugh. And what exactly do you plan to do with a dragon once you have one eye? I mean, they're kind of dangerous, right? He was undeterred. I'll take care of it. I promise. I'll even clean up after it. And everything you'll see, I can handle a dragon. I've been practicing with my toy ones, and they don't even breathe fire like a real one does. It was hard to resist his infectious enthusiasm. Sam had always been a dreamer. When he was younger, he used to ask for the moon, and honestly, while I knew dragons didn't exactly exist in the way he envisioned them, I didn't want to crush his imagination completely. He was only 8. After all, and the world was full of possibilities at that age. Okay, I said, leaning back on the couch and pretending to think seriously about it. How about we make a deal? I'll help you find a dragon, but we have to follow a few rules. His eyes lit up. Rules? What kind of rules? I smiled. Well, first, no setting the house on fire. Second, no bringing the dragon into the car unless it's in a very large cage. And third, no letting it eat anything in the house, like the cat or the fish. Okay, he agreed to the rules without hesitation, his face filled with determination. Deal. I'll even make sure it has a nice place to sleep. And so began our adventure into the world of dragons. Well, in reality, it started with me pretending to be the most diligent dragon hunter the world had ever seen. We spent hours together that afternoon, looking at all sorts of mythical creatures online. Sam would eagerly show me videos of dragons in movies, explaining their different powers and how each one was unique. We found sites that talked about fantasy creatures, and Sam meticulously jotted down notes about what kind of dragon he'd want. Some were fire breathing, others could fly, and one even had wings made of shimmering gold. The possibilities were endless. By the time the sun started setting, we had compiled a long list of dragon types, including one that Sam dubbed a perfect pet dragon. It was small enough to fit in his room, yet powerful enough to defend him from any bad guys that might try to sneak. And I had to admit, I was impressed by his creativity. But as the evening wore on, I knew there was no way I could actually get him a real dragon, no matter how much I wished I could fulfill that wish. However, I couldn't bring myself to simply tell him it was impossible, so I did the next best Think a few days later a small box arrived in the mail. Sam was with me when it came, his eyes lighting up as he saw the delivery. I handed him the package. With a big grin, "Here's your dragon." He ripped it open eagerly, and inside he found a plush dragon. It wasn't large, and it certainly didn't breathe fire, but it was a beautifully crafted toy. Its wings sparkling and its eyes full of mischief. He stared at it for a moment, his expression unreadable before his face broke into the biggest smile I had ever seen. "This is the best dragon ever," he exclaimed, hugging the plush tightly to his chest. "Thank you, Aunt. This is exactly what I wanted." I chuckled softly, watching him bounce around the room with his new dragon in hand, pretending it was flying through the air. The toy didn't have the magical powers he dreamed of, but it was enough to fuel his imagination. It was everything he needed in that moment, and I realized that sometimes giving a child the space to dream was even more important than try and make those dreams come true in the way they expected. Later that night, as I tucked Sam into bed, he placed a dragon beside him and gave me a grateful look. "You really made my dream come true, and even though it's not a real dragon, it feels like it is." I smiled, brushing a lock of hair from his forehead. "Dreams don't always come true the way we think they will, but that doesn't make them any less magical." As I walked out of his room, I thought about how sometimes the best thing we can do for a child isn't to give them exactly what they ask for, but to support their imagination and let them know that anything is possible. Maybe Sam didn't get a real dragon, but he had something far more valuable: the belief that the world was full of wonder and that his dreams, no matter how big, were worth chasing. And as I turned off the light and closed the door, I couldn't help but feel a sense of joy in knowing I had been a part of that dream.